So today I'll be going over everything that I do to get a model into VRChat. Not just like an MMD model that you just put into Unity, but from Blender all the way up to Unity, doing all the things that you need to do to optimize a model, to make it Quest compatible, and to make it full body optimized and proportioned. So first you have to find a model that you like, or make it yourself, depending on if you're a sculptor. And I'm going to be importing an XPS model. Going over to the solid shape viewpoint finder, let's go flat texture. It's a good way to look at this, doing some H to hide some things. And this is the model that I'll be importing today, Alt H. So it has some mouth bones. So that means that I'm going to have to create my own Visemes. And these Visemes, when we move them around, will change where the mouth position is. There's extra bones that don't need to be there. So like this bone does a twirly thing, and what I want is just the arm bone to move around. We have fingers. I think we just have 2 fingers. Yeah, we don't have end fingers. Okay, that'll be fine. What else? We have some weird like jaggedy stuff. We have some hair. All right, we have hair with a lot of bones in the hair. So first thing that I'll do, just fix the model. But before I fix the model, I'll show you like an error. So if, for instance, we have like, this is the thing 1 or whatever, and we try to fix the model, it's like, hey, we can't find wherever the left arm was. So it just kind of got rid of it and it doesn't exist anymore. So if you ever get errors like that, then that means that you'll have to go in, find the bone that isn't correctly named, and then name it to like arm left and like shoulder 2. So I think it's just arm left, but there's arm left and there's arm right, shoulder 2. So just name them the correct bone names that you need to name them, and then they'll be imported correctly. The first thing that I'll do is get rid of all of the bones that I don't need. So if you look, we have like this tiny little bone that I don't know where this goes to or what this does. Let's see, what does this do? Okay, this controls the chain. And so I will just grab these bones. And I think I'll just tie all of these bones right here to the left leg instead. So I'll grab these 3 little bones, and then I'll select the leg. So whatever is the last highlighted one, so this is the lightest blue, and then there's weird blues there. I also don't want to get rid of that. All right. So then we'll go over to our model options and to active. So now when we move our body, the chain also moves with us. So that's good. And now I'll just do that for all of the bones that are extenuous. All right, I've gotten rid of all of the bones that I needed to get rid of. And now let's put them into a T-pose. Apply the rest pose. And now we will make them proportional to an actual human model. So to make them proportional, we will line up where the bottom of their legs are, grab all of the inheritance and for the bones, and make sure that none of them inherit anything. So that way when we scale, we're not scaling other things as well. We'll change where the shoulders are so that they line up. And now we can scale on the Z-axis without making them go wonky. We can also scale the hips as well. And that should be good enough for now. And you can go into VRChat and measure the scale of your own body, but since this is more humanoid proportions than anime proportions, it should look better now. Apply as rest pose. We can delete the reference image, check out what looks kind of weird, maybe make them Now I'm going to raise the hip bone and the spine bone a little bit, so that way we have less of an issue inside of VRChat. Because the hip bone should be like 80% the size of the spine bone, and then the chest bone can be huge if it needs to be. But actually, I think the chest, where it needs to bend, would be better served up here, because the spine's right here, chest up here, just under the right where the rib cage starts for most models, which means that we can make this longer. And we can also make this go back here as well. I'll make it so that the angle is just slightly in front. All right, and we'll have to fix the weight painting, because right now for the weight painting, if we're going in object mode, weight paint, let's go to random texture. Let's go to hips. We see how the hips are located around here. Let's go to point view. So like the hips are all right here, and we want to put the hips up here later. The chest can be weight painted a little bit differently. If you see right here, this is going in a lot. That's because this angle right here goes all the way down to here as far as the weight painting is concerned. So if we bring it up here, then it will crunch right here. That's what the weight painting does. What we're going to do is we're going to select this hair over here, because we don't want this hair to be weight painted, and we're going to hide it for just a wee bit of time, because we're going to weight paint the spine area. So now object mode, weight paint, we're going to go to chest. We're going to select, I'm going to select everything down here. So this area right here should not be weight painted for the chest. Not front faces only. Weight 0, auto normalize, so that way the spine picks up whatever we lack. Because if we go to the spine right now, this is what the spine is, this is what the chest is. So we're going to 0 this out right here. And it should go like all the way through the back. And then this area should be like 50% weight painted instead. Start posing. Turn off X-ray for a bit. And now it's crunching where it needs to crunch, which is good. The spine needs to be fixed next. The spine can have more control over this midsection right here. Get rid of all of this area right here that it's controlling, because it does not need to. Yep, now it's crunching the way that we need it to. Spine weight painting is fixed. Legs are kind of fixed. Kind of, but I think that these can actually be straight up and down. And this can be just slightly behind. Slightly. Make sure the feet are steady. We actually move this in a little bit. Make sure that's level. A tip that you'll want to do is to save these in spurts, because you might like accidentally delete a bone. Like you're clicking on something, you're like, I want to delete this. But instead of just deleting one of the bones that you're deleting, you accidentally delete like the hip bone or whatever, because it was automatically selected. So you'll want like stages of things that you're doing. We have all of these eye bones that we are probably not going to use. Let's do facial tracking. All right, so we'll pose, we'll grab this eye. Is this a, no, this is a, an up and down. So it looks like the x-axis isn't working. So let's see, eyelid left upper. So let's do eyelid left upper left. And then we'll go eyelid. Right. Yep, now that they're named the exact same, they work the exact same too. Let's do bottom one as well. So pose a shape key and this will be our blink. And now we'll create the ah vowel, which I think this is our jaw. I don't think we have a jaw. So then we'll just have to make the mouth shapes without a jaw, moving the lower half of the body. So let's go over to the stick figure view. Viewport display for armature is going to be stick for the moment, so that way we can see what we're doing. Let's reset and so does that look like an ah? Ah! Yeah, it looks close enough to an ah. So there is our A sound. And now we need an O sound. So to make an O sound, bring in the lips. That's good enough for an O sound. Oh. And now we are going to make a ch sound. Ch sound. Then we stop posing. Visemes A, O, ch. Cool. Now let's hide this, go to our mesh. Go over to edit and just look at ah, ch, da, e, fa, I, ka. So if we needed to, we could like edit this O sound. And while we're here, we can like say, hey, this ch sound, I actually want like, while this is highlighted, we can do this. So if we didn't have bones, we can actually like mess with the vertices ourselves. So that way, when we go to the ch sound, now it looks like a W. If you wanted like extra control or you didn't have bones for that. But we can actually get rid of the ch, O, and ah sound. The more shape keys you have, the bigger your file size will be because it saves it all in math. So get rid of the things that you're not needing. And now technically we can get rid of the Physbone stuff. But we'll do that in the last process because if I want to come back and let's say have facial tracking with bones for like the like Vive facial tracking or whatever, then I can do that. But if I've deleted the bones already and I've worked on other parts of the models, I'd have to go back to the previous steps and redo all of this over again. So deleting bones will be our last thing that we'll be doing. We can fix the model and we'll give back all the things that we want. So what we're going to do now is, I don't think that she has any like dangly stuff. So what I'll do is, I'm not going to make these front hair parts dangly. I'll just make the back hair part dangly. And we have two dangly bits that we can work with. So I think these three and these three is going to be our two swaying bits. So what I'll do is this and this, all those weights will go to that one. This and this, all those weights will go to that one. And that's it. That's all we have to do. Now when the hair is swaying, so if it like sways, oops. So now if it like sways, it'll sway in two parts for dynamic bones and that'll look just fine. And these other hair parts, I don't really care for. I'm not going to use them. So I'll just get rid of all the things that I don't use. Because the more bones you have, the less optimized it is as well. Let's get rid of all the hair parts that we're not going to use. To parent. Let's see. So the head bone is right at where the eyes were. Let's say the head bone was like, it's like this. It went to the top. Then we'd want to bring it down to where the eyes are. So like, let's say that the base was down here. Then when we rotated, it would rotate along that axis, which isn't what we wanted. So we have the hands. We could add more bones to the hands. So if I wanted to, which I don't right now, I could like make this shorter to right where that is. Add a bone. There's the bone. Make the parent of that bone the finger part. So then the parent is going to be index finger to left hand. We're going to connect it. And then we are going to move this to where it needs to be. And then what we do is we go into edit, lock object mode. There we go. And now we can say like, hey, I want to weight paint the end of this thumb. And now when we go into cats and we pose, this is going to go down. So that's how we have that's how we add a third finger. But then we have to do the exact same thing over here. Yeah. But so I don't want to do that right now. But that's how you go ahead and you add more bones to the things that you need to do. So we have the blinks. All right. Let's go to our tracking, head tracking, left eye, right eye, blink, left. Everything looks good. Create eyes, start tracking. Uh-oh, that's no bueno. So it looks like these eyes aren't circular. So then that means that we're going to have to do something fun with these eyes and make them go up and down, left and right. All right, so to do that in the best way possible. Cool. So these are just flat planes instead of circles. So these are the eyes. Moving them that is not going to be what we want. So instead, we're going to grab this and move them back, like really far back. So that way, when we move them down, left, up, right. So that should almost work. As long as we grab, let's select via the UVs. What we're going to do is we're going to bring these back just a tad. So that way we have more of a gap. So now when we pose our eyes, okay, yep, that should do it just enough. Create eye tracking. We're going to grab this bone and we're going to bring it back here. We're going to delete this bone. We're going to start posing. There you go. Left and right. When we're blinking, our eyes should not go through our head. Good enough for government work. All right, we have the Visemes, we have the eye shapes with a weird non-round eyeball. Fixing all these different things is real fun. We have our base shapes put up into the kind of anatomically correct position. Now we can see the scale of our model. So this box right here is 1 meter. Oh boy, she is almost 2 meters tall. Because each one of these is 10 centimeters. So if you want to convert that to feet, that's like, she's 196 centimeters tall. 6.5 feet. I'm pretty sure. Let's import an old model of mine. Yeah, so she is ginormous. So I think what we'll do is we will grab this model and scale it down. Instead of having 2 boobas that move independently, we can actually make it so that there's 1 booba. This will go right here. This will be right here. And then this weight and this weight is actually going to go to this. So now to active And this is going to be parented to the chest. So now when we T-pose and we move, should move, but this should also move independently. And that's how you can optimize your boobas. We didn't move the origin much. Let's go ahead, move the origin, normalize. Phew, there we go. So now we are going to create that and that. And now this armature F3, and we're going to set origin to 3D cursor. And then we're going to go to this, make that go up. But right now, yep. Let's make sure we have that slight bend in our arm. And this. And this. And that's good enough. Rise rest pose. Save the third version of this. And now we can get rid of all the weird stuff. Except for the eyes, we keep the eyes to parent. I'm going to run fix model one more time. I just do that for like bone rotation resets and all that jazz. It's a handy shortcut. Material combiner, generate materials. This is already Atlas, but if it wasn't, this is when you would Atlas stuff. You'd come down here to the size gap in between, and you wouldn't put it to 2, you put it to 0, and you'd also do by the power of 2 as well, because you want a square texture rather than a like a dynamic one. You want like 512 or whatever, because it's optimized for that. You'd save your Atlas and you do all the things that you need to do. Join the meshes, export model. There's that. Now let's move over to Unity. So actually just getting the Creators Club, and then you can create a new project that way because it will import everything for you. I'm going to be creating a new avatar project. We don't need anything extra. We're going to open the project. So one thing to note is that when importing Poiyomi shaders, you don't need the presets. You don't need the textures. You don't need the third-party licenses, and you don't need 7.2. You just need the 8.1. You don't need the extras unless you're using them. But this is the minimum amount that you need to get most of the effects that you're asking for, and it will save you about 10 to 30 minutes of compressing and other texture things that need to happen when you try to upload to Quest. So for this, we have Elixia that we're going to click on, go to our import settings. We're going to import the blend shape normals. And I think that's all we need to do for that one. Humanoid, apply. If there's a jawbone, so we have chest, hips, spines, those all look good. If there's a jaw attached, delete the jaw. We don't actually have distals for our hands, so that'll be fantastic. Apply, we're done with that. Animations, materials, we're good. We're going to create a new material. We're going to call this one BC. Create a new one. We're going to name this one Quest. And then for PC, we'll add the albedo. And then for the Quest, we'll add the albedo. We'll also create a new folder specifically for this. Just to keep it organized, because there's going to be weird stuff that is added later. We'll add this to our screen. Turn this around. We'll add the PC version on so we can see what we're looking at. We'll make the directional light go in front. Shade color, white. And now for Quest, we're going to do just the normal toonlet for Quest, so that way that's what it's going to look like for Quest. For PC, we have extra options that we can do. So we're going to do Poiyomi, and I like the outline for my models that have shading, just because it makes it a little bit more borderlandy. Actually, shading, light data. We're going to set the minimum brightness to 0.3. So what this does is, let's say our directional light, there's no light in the scene, then this is what it's going to look like. If we didn't do that, then that means that the minimum brightness, we could be completely black. In a completely black world where there was no skybox and the ambient color was black, then we'd look completely black. So that minimum light level will make sure that doesn't happen. And Poiyomi shaders will only be seen by people who show your avatar. So we have to have a backup. So our backup is actually going to be toon, opaque, one-sided for our specific needs, because we don't have any transparency on our shader. All right, so now that we've set our toon, opaque, one-sided shader, it'll just kind of look like the Quest shader. But some fun things that I like kind of the cell-shaded look. So to get that, we're going to go to shading, we're going to go to multi-layer math, and now we'll just have a default normal white shading. We don't need red under highlights. Then I like outline. Black outline. That is 0.25 in size, and then has a fixed width of 0.5. So that way we kind of look like we're drawn in there. And I think that's everything. So we're going to lock in the optimization. So we're going to add the avatar descriptor. We're going to enable eye look. Our eye, left eye, right eye. The lens shapes is going to be for the body, and it's just going to be blink. And then here, then here. Playable layers is going to be my special motion one that I created specifically for when you're in full body and you're falling off of something, your falling animation is taken over by VRChat. And instead, I got rid of the falling animation completely. We can use that locomotion instead. We don't enforce 6-point tracking animation. And I think we're going to do rotation states, and looking up is going to be -20. Look up is -20. Look down is 20. Look left is -20. Look right is 20. Now we are going to add a Physbone and another Physbone. So we're going to open up the armature, go to the neck, head, ponytail, and that first Physbone's root transformation is going to be that. And then we're going to go to Boobas, and that bone is going to be that transform. Oh, yes. We also have to set and edit this. So we'll go into isomorphic mode. Make this go into the eyes. There you go. I don't want grabbing or collision for these. I want them to act independently of themselves. And simplified, I'm going to have a limit of an angle. And this angle should be so that it doesn't like go into the back. Doing this instead of doing colliders is a lot better for performance. We have to have a an ending bone. All right, this avatar message where let's auto fix that. Min map texture, let's go over to our texture. We're going to add crunch compression, so the download size is a lot smaller. And I think, okay, this is a 1000 texture. We're going to override that as well. And we're going to apply the crunch compression. And now that texture is going to be very small. Right. And we also want min maps. Streaming, min maps as well. There's no alpha transparency, so we can get rid of that. And that should fix that. And then we will publish for Windows. I think that's everything. Cool, we're going to upload an image. This is going to be Elixia. I'll make it public just because I can. And we'll grab this camera, make the background color black, put that up there, make this a solid color, go up a little. Also switch over to Android. We'll make it the Quest compatible, publish for Android. And in an hour and a half, I have a new avatar that I'm able to play with in game. My Visemes aren't working on this avatar. Auto detect limp sync, that's why they weren't working. Re-upload. So when you have to re-upload to fix a bug, you have to do it for both Android and Windows. Remember to do that, otherwise it won't work on one. Like your Visemes will still be broken on Android if you only fix it for Windows. Testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3. O-E-I-O-U. I could do some texture painting on the legs down there. I think I'll do that now. So let's say you want like a lewd guard down here. And you want this section of the avatar to not be so lewd and like for people to look underneath their skirt. So we're going to go over to UV editing and we're going to select the part that looks just the UV portion of this. All right, so that's that area. So we have this texture right here that, you know what we're going to do? And just make it a black void to which no eyes will escape. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our base model, go to our material slots, and inside the diffuse, we're going to actually add a new one, and it's going to be lewd guard. You are now going to just be normal. We're going to go over to lewd guard, and we're going to Alt-R. Cool. Scene here. And instead of using that, we can use our new lewd guard painting. So go over to lewd guard, do the same compression algorithm, streaming maps, no alpha. Apply to our albedos, and we have to unlock the shader and then relock it after. Albedos, lewd guard, now this texture. And Quest is now this texture as well. There you go. Ta-da! Lewd guard. I would also recommend if you make changes to like the bones and where things are, don't import over your old save. Import a new save and then copy the parameters to the new one. Because Unity doesn't like it when you have when you try to override old things with new things. Sometimes it'll work, but sometimes it'll be very messed up and like you won't have your Visemes or whatever. And so best thing to do is just to start over again. Yeah. If you have like a really complex model, then there are ways to make it less complex and make it like copy and pastable stuff. But for just doing this, this is fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about me. Almost 2 hours. We have lewd guard safe, dynamic bones, optimized for Quest and PC. We took something that was not an MMD model at all, and that was an XPS model, which there are a lot more XPS models. We didn't do anything dramatic like add in a mouth to an avatar or add like the extra bones to the fingers. You can, once you learn how to do weight painting and like move vertexes around and add a few things, then you can start like adding clothing to things. And yeah, you can go as complex or as simple as you want. This was rather simple. It only took a couple hours to do. So I won't be answering questions to help you in the comments just because like I have my own life to live and I'm not here to help other people. I'm here to help myself and my friends. So bye.